All right, it is time for a big 49ers roster updates, and this is probably the most complicated week of the regular season. The 49ers are going to be resting Brock Purdy. They're going to be starting this guy, Sam Darnold, and then they're going to try to do whatever they can to get better over the course of the next 2 weeks, which are, you can call them bye weeks, but you can also try to call it an improvement week for the 49ers. They're not going to play a meaningful game in terms of the standings or the playoffs until the divisional round. That's not coming for about 2 weeks at this point, 3 weeks from the point of their most recent regular season game against Washington. So, with the Rams coming to town on Sunday, but the 49ers already having the number one seed locked up, and with a bye week after that, with that number one seed locked up for the 49ers, they are focusing on getting better. What can they do to improve as a football team between now and the next time that they take the field in a meaningful fashion? And, sometimes getting better does coincide with getting healthier. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But it's only a component of what we're going to talk about today, because sometimes getting better also means taking a bit of a mental break and finding the balance between taking a mental break and not taking too long of a mental break. So much of the quarterback decision has obviously been centered around riding that balance. Brock Purdy is not going to play this weekend. It's going to be Darnold instead. That also means that Brock Purdy will not play the following weekend because it's going to be a bye, and he'll have about a 3-week layoff in between games. However, this week during practice, the 49ers made sure that Brock Purdy got 50% of the reps on Wednesday. He got a little bit on Thursday, but Sam Darnold got the lion's share there to get ready for this game. And I'm sure that they'll have a similar idea next week to preserve Brock Purdy, yet keep him sharp. Purdy and Shanahan met before this plan was finalized. And part of the 49ers' reasoning behind being okay with giving Brock Purdy extra rest was exactly what I told you guys before I found out that Shanahan and Purdy actually talked about it. He was fine off of a long layoff, at least from game action in week 1 against Pittsburgh. He had elbow surgery over the offseason, didn't play a single game, regular season game, until week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the 49ers believe that Brock Purdy was, playing without cobwebs in that week 1 game, playing without cobwebs in the week 10 game against Jacksonville, coming off of the bye week. They firmly believe that he's the type of quarterback that can get in there after a stretch of no game action and perform just as well as before. That being said, they do believe that he needs the practice, and that's why what happens in practice to the 49ers is more important than what happens in a meaningful game against the Rams. That's why they gave Purdy 50% of those reps on Wednesday, and they're also looking at all of this in terms of the dynamics that will occur if you practice well, take a little bit of rest on the field, maybe play a little bit with some other guys, and then set yourself up for optimal efficiency in the NFC divisional round game against an opponent that is to be determined. So everything needs to be viewed through the big picture lens of just getting better. It's not about just resting guys mechanically and robotically and saying, okay, hey, we're going to bubble wrap this guy and we're going to bubble wrap this guy and then we'll be ready to go in the divisional round. No, this is a living, breathing football operation. First off, it's impossible to rest everybody. And second off, you have to account practice, because if you don't talk about practice, then you're not talking about one of the primary mechanisms of getting better on a week-to-week basis. So that's what we're going to delve into this roster update with. I've got Armstead updates for you. I have Trent Williams updates for you. And I also have the entire depth chart for you so we can take a look at exactly where the 49ers are. So this is the depth chart. We're going to color code this. We have in gray the players who are confirmed to be resting on Sunday. In pink, we have the players who are hurt right now, aren't necessarily ruled out, but are hurt. Like Jawan Jennings is still going through a concussion protocol. There's a chance that he's ready. There are players who are ruled out, though. Not all of the guys in pink, though, are ruled out. We also have players who for sure will be playing. Sam Darnold and Trent Williams have both been confirmed to be playing. There are going to be a lot more playing than just those who have been confirmed to be playing, of course. But we just have firm word that the guys who are highlighted in green are confirmed to be playing. Yellow, as always, those are rookies. Looks like Darrell Luter Jr. needs to be highlighted in yellow as well because he is indeed a rookie. The reason he's not highlighted is because he was hurt previously. So I changed the highlight color to pink. Anyway, back to this. Let's talk about Arik Armstead first. The 49ers are timing this up for a playoff ramp up with his plantar fasciitis. So no, you're not going to see Arik Armstead in the game on Sunday. But yes, you can expect or at least hope to see Arik Armstead in the postseason starting in the divisional round. Plantar fasciitis is a foot condition that is tricky. Arik Armstead dealt with it last year. They got him back and ready to go for the playoffs. They're aiming for something similar this time around. What you really need is very prolonged rest. Obviously, the 49ers can't give Arik Armstead months of it, but they can give him several weeks. They can also target, surgically strike, so to speak, that treatment so that he's ready to go at close to 100% for at least a short period of time. And the 49ers only are 3 wins away from the Super Bowl. So for Arik Armstead, he spoke about it on his podcast. He obviously has gone through this last year. The 49ers have 2+ more weeks of rest before they have to take the field in a meaningful game. I think that you will see Arik Armstead in that game after the 49ers execute this treatment plan. And that's going to happen again in those 2+ weeks around January 20th or so. Trent Williams, meanwhile, he will play against the Rams. This is controversial with some people. It doesn't sound like he's going to play the whole game against the Rams, but I can tell you that I've talked to Trent after every single game. And I remember going into the locker room after the Jacksonville game and just casually talking with him about how he felt coming off of the prolonged absence because he had missed time with his ankle injury before the bye week. Then there was the bye week. So it was about a month in between game action for Trent Williams. And he made some nice blocks against the Jags, but he told me that he didn't feel good, that he felt really, really rusty. So the last thing that you want is a rusty Trent Williams playing in the divisional round of the playoffs after a 3-week layoff. So the 49ers, who have recognized that Trent Williams is in very good health right now, have consulted with Trent, and they have determined that he is going to need to play at least a little bit in this game to keep the rust off. Trent Williams knows his body and his needs better than the random person sitting and tweeting away about the 49ers' bad decision in this case. I would trust Trent Williams at age 35 with knowledge of how he can best prepare for a game over somebody without a profile picture on the internet. So that's what the 49ers are doing with Trent Williams. I would not expect him to play the whole game, but him playing is representative of the larger challenge that the 49ers face, because you can see here, this is a 70-man roster that includes the practice squad, which includes Alfredo Gutierrez, who's the international exception player, who is not eligible to actually play in this game, but he is eligible to be on the practice squad. But the 49ers simply don't have enough bodies to take this entire row of starters and give them the boot for this game. You simply don't have enough players to be able to do that. So certain starters can sit out, and Brock Purdy is obviously the one that the 49ers are willing to bubble wrap, especially coming off of stingers over the past 2 games, or 2 of the past 3 games. They didn't suffer one against Washington, but he did against Arizona, and then he did against Baltimore. So Purdy gets a rest. Christian McCaffrey, who had the calf injury, gets a little bit of a rest. It's not a serious injury for McCaffrey, but why push him if he's not 100%? But the rest of your lineup, you have to think strongly about playing those guys, unless they're obviously out with injuries. So we're going to go through what the 49ers are planning and visualize it for you right now. All right, so here we go. Oh, and we've got some San Francisco food for you too. Why don't we take a quick little food break? I've eaten well over the past few days. First, we got the Croque Madame at Le Choquet in Pacific Heights. Croque Madame French sandwich. It's got cheese, it's got ham, and it also has an egg on top. So this was really good. Then we went to the Lombardi Special Breakfast Sandwich, 24th and Guerrero. Yeah, I have a sandwich named after me. I'm proud of it. And it's the best breakfast sandwich in San Francisco. So you might as well go and try it out. It's bacon, egg, cheese, avocado on a croissant. As always, talk to Peter, ask him about it. And then to finish up today, got the chicken sandwich at Dolores Park Cafe. Glorious afternoon in San Francisco nice and sunny. Look at that. It was great. Dolores Park Cafe, the chicken sandwich. Those are your food recommendations. Now I'm going to give you 49ers roster recommendations. So let's put this roster up on the stage. Let's talk about the 49ers ramping up against the Rams this weekend. So at the quarterback position, you've got Darnold, and you're probably going to see some Brandon Allen this weekend. Darnold has been such a good team player for the 49ers, and that's what I wrote about here on The Athletic with the article, the game preview for the game against the Rams. By the way, I did not pick the 49ers to win this week because it is a meaningless game, and I have no idea who's going to win, but I just picked the Rams to win. 49ers have actually been favored in every single game this season, but they're not favored by me in this game just because I felt like not picking them. Anyway, here we go. 49ers, Sam Darnold gets his starting showcase after a season behind the scenes. Darnold and Purdy have built a really good relationship, and Darnold's had an awesome attitude for the 49ers this season. He joined this team knowing that he was going to back up Brock Purdy. The 49ers knew that Purdy was better than Trey Lance. They obviously also considered him to be better than Sam Darnold. Brandon Allen was the 49ers' fourth quarterback there at the start of training camp before they jettisoned Lance in the trade to the Cowboys. Anyway, Darnold signed up to be a backup. He signed up to essentially rehabilitate his career under Brian Griese, who's had so much success as the 49ers quarterbacks coach, and in Kyle Shanahan's system. And Darnold yesterday says it's an awesome system because it gives the quarterback the answers. And if you can process, then you can play fast. But the answer will be there if you can process. And we know that Brock Purdy processes at an elite level. Sam Darnold, we're going to get to see how he processes within Kyle Shanahan's system on Sunday. I think it'll be really fun. But they've been talking about his arm talent for a while now. He's an elite thrower of the football. The ball jumps out of his hand like a lightning rod. I mean, it's really, really impressive the way that Sam Darnold can push that ball downfield. So maybe that's going to have a chance to be on display against the Rams on Sunday. What has been present but not on display so far this season has been Sam Darnold's helping nature. He quizzes Brock Purdy down on the field before these games on different reads, on different checks, on different nuances of the quarterback position. George Kittle told a great story, and I actually wrote it here in this article up on The Athletic about the pregame during Washington. Sam is rolling around on the field stretching out. This is on the turf in Washington a couple hours before the game. Brock Purdy's right next to him stretching out as well. And Brock Purdy is Sam Darnold is quizzing Brock Purdy to make sure that Purdy is ready for all the checks and the pulling of the puppet strings that he's going to need to do at the quarterback position based on what Washington might throw them defensively. After every single possession, Brock Purdy has gone back to the 49ers bench where Brian Griese, the quarterback's coach, has debriefed him based on what's happened. But Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen, the other two quarterbacks, also have their tablets, and they're also getting pictures of the All-22 from upstairs, and they're also noticing things from the sideline. After Purdy has talked to Brian Griese, he's made it a tradition to talk to Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen, who have both given him good advice about what they've seen. So this is a team, and I think Sam Darnold deserves to be commended for how well he's handled the team aspect of being the backup quarterback. He's not just here to rehabilitate his career in terms of, I need to get some reps at practice and, I'm going to learn some tricks of the trade and then I'm going to sign for big money elsewhere. He has actively tried to help Brock Purdy master the quarterback situation with the 49ers. And I think it's safe to say that Brock Purdy has mastered it with his franchise record in passing yardage, with his MVP candidacy, with the fact that he's been the most efficient quarterback in football by like I think it's by 43%, something crazy like that. So Sam Darnold gets some credit there as well. And now Sam Darnold's going to have a chance in the spotlight. And the 49ers are really excited to see what he might be able to do with, he's tremendously physically gifted as far as the arm talent goes. It's something that I talked about from day one when the 49ers signed him. This guy, he was a number 3 overall pick for a reason, because he's got that physical skill set. And now the 49ers are going to see that physical skill set on display as the starting quarterback. Darnold, I think if all goes perfectly, Darnold will sign somewhere next year where he has a chance to compete for a starting role. Obviously, that is not the 49ers, because Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in football. Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback. He's not going to be ceding his job to anybody unless he gets hurt. The 49ers brought in Darnold because they know the danger of skating on thin ice at the quarterback position. An injury to Brock Purdy last year killed them in the NFC Championship game. They wanted to have a quality backup. And I think if all goes well for the 49ers, they can create a backup factory, if you will, a QB rehab center. They could bring in somebody else, maybe Mac Jones next season. And Mac Jones can do what Sam Darnold is doing this year, become a good teammate. He could work under Brock Purdy, and then he could sign elsewhere the year after. I don't know if that's what's going to happen with Sam Darnold, but I do know that I think that would be best for everybody if Sam gets offered a nice, lucrative contract and a chance to be QB1 somewhere else next year after a season in the 49ers system. Why not run it back the same way that the 49ers operate in the defensive line room with Chris Kasarik, where they've brought in Arden Key, they brought in Charles Omenihu, they've brought in Cleveland Farrell, who's playing really well this year, and they've made those players some money for their families, and they've allowed them to succeed in the rest of the league. It's the spirit of abundance. Bill Walsh did that with the 49ers. He didn't mind when coaches and players left elsewhere for more money and better opportunities. He obviously preserved his core, but he realized that the depth pieces and some of the assistants on his staff might not be able to stay with the 49ers. Just not how professional sports works. So instead of trying to guard all of his secrets and prevent people from advancing, Bill Walsh made sure that everybody advanced, and that was better for his roster in the short and the long term. So Darnold gets his chance in the sun on Sunday. And, you know, one of the unspoken benefits of what's happening here and playing Sam Darnold over Brock Purdy on Sunday is, in case Purdy does get hurt in the postseason, I know nobody wants to talk about this, but it's a reality because it actually happened last year. In case he gets hurt, you want to make sure that Sam Darnold is as ready to go as possible because, yes, this is a great roster, and I think this is a roster that can survive at least a few snaps or maybe a few drives, maybe even a game if Sam Darnold plays well in the case that Brock Purdy gets hurt. So you have to give Darnold the best runway possible. The luxury of clinching this number one seed early has allowed the 49ers to give Sam Darnold a real run as the starting quarterback. They don't want it to pay off in terms of, oh, Sam Darnold, was able to play in week 18, so now he's playing well in the postseason. They don't want that opportunity. They don't want Brock Purdy to get hurt. But as last year taught us, you've got to be ready for every single scenario, especially at the quarterback position, because injuries do happen. Moving forward to the running back position, it's going to be Mitchell and Mason splitting the majority of the load. Do they call up Davis Price or McNichols? Maybe, but maybe not, because they also, they're on the practice squad, right? And you only have two practice squad call-ups per week. I think Erik Harris is going to have to be one of those, the safety, because both Jair Brown and Tashawn Gibson, the safeties, are out this week. So you have Logan Ryan, you have Isaiah Oliver who can play safety, but you need depth there. So I think that you might have to use your practice squad call-ups on at least one, maybe even two safeties. Erik Harris and Taylor Hawkins are the available players in that regard. At the receiver position, Jennings is right now in the concussion protocol. Juwan Jennings is progressing through the protocol, but he still needs one more step. He needs to clear that one more step before he's able to go, and the 49ers wouldn't risk putting him out there early until he is cleared by the NFL's independent evaluator. So you have Jennings at the receiver spot. You're going to have Ray McCloud coming off of injured reserve this week. So he's going to be playing in this football game for the 49ers. I can go ahead and make that roster move right now. I just don't know what the corresponding move for the 49ers is going to be. So somebody's going to get booted off of the 53-man roster. They just haven't let him know yet. But we can take Ray McCloud off of injured reserve. I'm doing it in real time for you right now. He is an IR activation now down here. The 49ers have a maximum of 8 of those this season. Luter actually is not counting as an IR activation because Darrell Luter Jr. came off of either the NFI or the PUP list. But McCloud is one of those activations that will become official here within the next day. The 49ers have used 4 of them, and they still will want, they have 8 max. They're still going to want to use one on George Odom, and potentially Kalia Davis. That's 5 and 6. So they're not going to run out of IR activations like they did last season. So McLeod is in there. That's 54 on the roster for the 49ers. Who do they drop? I am not sure at this point. We will see tomorrow when they make these official roster moves. Moving on to the tight end position, Braden Willis, the rookie, could get some run tomorrow because I don't think that George Kittle is going to play a full game. Ross Dwelly is still out. You have Jake Tongus on the practice squad, but I'm not sure if they're going to have enough practice squad optionality here. If they have to use it at the safety position, you only have those 2 call-ups to get him in. Charlie Werner's been having a nice season blocking for the 49ers. He is more of a behind-the-scenes guy since he doesn't get too much activity in the pass game, but he is also part of the mix. One thing that's good for the 49ers right now in terms of injuries is how generally healthy their offensive line is, and that's right here, the entire O-line. Take a look at that group with knowing that John Feliciano is actually just questionable. He had some back tightness early in the week, but he's been back at practice. So we're about to remove the pink injury tag from Feliciano, but it is notable how healthy that O-line group is. So you look at the O-line and you realize that, okay, the 49ers have something to work with at this position in terms of depth to be able to fill in for starters and give guys a break. Yes, they want Trent Williams, and Trent Williams wants to keep off the rust. But no, I don't think that Trent is going to be playing the entire game. And if he doesn't play the entire game, Jalen Moore has cleared concussion protocol. You can get Jalen Moore in there. Colton McKivitz, right tackle, 49ers, if he doesn't play the entire game, if you want to give him a little bit of a breather, you could bring Matt Pryor right into the game. Ben Barch, I'm going to move Ben Barch to center because he's the guy they picked up from Jacksonville off their practice squad right after they played Jacksonville this year. Ben Barch has been working at both guard and center, but the center is the most notable, even though he's never played that in a game, because he can potentially relieve Jake Brendel. And I think the 49ers even said they want that to happen because just in case Brendel goes down in the postseason, you need somebody who can make all the checks, who can set your blocking, who could be the communication fulcrum along with the quarterback up front. You need somebody who could plug right into the game midstream. John Feliciano can obviously do that, and I think John Feliciano is the 49ers' top emergency option at center. But Feliciano's been one of the best run-blocking guards in football, and I think that they love platooning him with Spencer Burford. In fact, maybe we could even move Feliciano down to right guard because I think that the Burford help is what's more likely of a task for John Feliciano. So Burford's your weak link along the offensive line. Feliciano has improved that spot tremendously with some of his play this season. He's also filled in for Aaron Banks when Aaron Banks has dealt with that turf toe. Banks is now off of the injury report. So if Feliciano is tied up with the guard position, you would want somebody else to be able to fill in effectively at center in case Jake Brendel is ever unavailable. And that's why they're working out Ben Barch at center. Watch this weekend on Sunday, see what Ben Barch's role is. I'm guessing he's going to be playing some center, but see how he delivers from a communication aspect, from a pass protection aspect, see if he's acclimated to the 49ers system as far as moving, because that's going to be some nice insurance for the 49ers if he can succeed. I talked about Pryor. I talked about Moore. I talked about Feliciano. As you can see, there are 4 eligible backups on the 53-man roster. So you can't rest all 5 starters in this game unless you call somebody up. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that in this game. But again, we'll see. I think they're going to have to really focus on that safety position just due to injuries. Some of these decisions that the 49ers are having to make with their roster essentially have been made for them because of the injuries, which we'll go through more here as we progress through things. On the defensive line, you got Arik Armstead. The 49ers are timing that playoff ramp up for Arik Armstead. So, no, you will not see him this weekend. Elsewhere, though, the 49ers are healthy, and that's really good news. It's kind of like the O-line group, relatively healthy. The D-line group, relatively healthy outside of Armstead. Bosa, Hargrave, Young. Can you sit somebody like Bosa? Yeah, well, you could toss in Cleveland Farrell. Cleveland Farrell, by the way, has really impressed the 49ers this year. We talk about Sam Darnold coming in, rehabilitating his career. Number 3 overall pick, Sam Darnold. Well, another top 5 pick, Cleveland Farrell. I think he actually might have gone number 3, Farrell. Man, no, I think he went number 4 in 2019, the year that Bosa did. He's impressed the hell out of the 49ers. He's set nice edges against the run. Another day, Steve Wilkes said that on the GPS trackers that are in every single player's shoulder pads, Cleveland Farrell has ran more during some of these games than skill position players because he's just pursuing. He's pursuing his ass off. Whenever plays go to the outside or whenever plays go downfield, he's not just standing around like a defensive lineman. He's actually hustling. He's actually running. He's got a few sacks this year. This might be a good opportunity for Farrell to get a little bit more of a showcase game because I'm assuming that Nick Bosa, if he does play, is not going to play all of it. I do think that Chase Young is going to play a whole lot more than somebody like Bosa. Young is still in the mode of needing more showcase opportunities. Coming off of a lot of missed time from injuries, right? He just ramped it back up this season. So Young is a player who the 49ers want to further and further integrate into their rotation. I don't think he's a guy that you bubble wrap and sit out. I think guys like Hargrave and Bosa, your Pro Bowlers, yeah, I get it. You can cede to Kinlaw, Givens, Cleveland Farrell. You could give Randy Gregory some more time in this game. Sebastian Joseph Day, what a great opportunity this will be for him. Sebastian Joseph Day has been a 2-gap kind of player, which is different than the 49ers fire off the ball 4-3 system. He never played in the type of style that the 49ers asked their defensive linemen to play, but he's very talented and they think that his skill set can translate, but you got to give him game reps so he can practice it. So this is a great opportunity to give Sebastian Joseph Day those game reps. That's why I don't think that obviously Armstead won't play, but I don't think that you're going to see all too much of Javon Hargrave in this game because this is an awesome chance to just give Sebastian Joseph Day against his former team, the Rams, as much developmental time as possible. So that's a look at the defensive line room. Definitely expect that out of Joseph Day. At linebacker, you got Warner, Greenlaw, Burks off the injury report. Great opportunity in this game to play some rookies, right? Instead of Warner. Give D. Winters a lot of time in this football game. Give Jalen Graham a lot of time in this game. Give Demetrius Flanagan-Foles a lot of time in this game. You can essentially, you'll probably have the linebackers in uniform. They might start the game, but you can run an entire line change here with players who are on the 53-man roster. You can run the Winters, Flanagan-Foles, Jalen Graham linebacker combo on the 4-3 alignments and be just fine on Sunday. So I think that's what we're going to see the 49ers do. It gets more complicated for the 49ers in the secondary because Ambry Thomas had surgery on the broken hand Tuesday. Jair Brown is not going to play due to his knee sprain, and Tashawn Gibson is out for about a week or so with a quad contusion. So here, again, can you run a secondary with just the depth? Sure. You could put, even if you want to give Charvarius Ward and Dion Lenore some time off, sure. You could toss Samuel Womack in there. You can, at the other corner position, you could play Darrell Luter Jr. You can give him some time. Isaiah Oliver can be your nickel back again. Logan Ryan could be one of your safeties, and then you could call somebody up from the practice squad, probably Eric Harris to be the other safety. But you're going to need more depth, first of all. And two, remember the 49ers' ultimate goal here. It's not just to survive this game. The ultimate goal is to get better. So you want to put players into positions where you think that you're going to need them in the postseason, where you can develop the best sense of improvement entering that divisional round game coming up in mid-January. So to do that, I don't think that you just want to lazily plug Isaiah Oliver into nickelback. I think Oliver is a specialty defensive back who, again, can cover tight ends who split out into the slot or even out wide, but he's also safety depth. So I think Oliver probably will get some time at safety in this game because you're going to need that emergency depth at a position that has all this red in it, all these injuries in it. And I think that somebody like Eric Harris or even Taylor Hawkins might get some safety time in this game coming off the practice squad to be ready for an emergency during the postseason. As far as the corner positions go, maybe a little bit of time for Charvarius Ward and Diamond Lenore, but I do think it is important to get Womack and Luter some versatile game experience while you can give it to them. I'm sure all of you heard the bad news today with Jason Verrett. We already ran the whole Jason Verrett video earlier today, but the 49ers plan was to give Jason Verrett a ton of time at cornerback on Sunday. But unfortunately, he tore his rotator cuff on Thursday, and his season is done. That is 8 season-ending injuries for Jason Verrett. Just a horrific break. You've got to feel heartbroken for him. He's such a warrior. The fact that Verrett has been able to come back from all of these injuries, and here's a full list of them, the fact that he still has an NFL job after all these injuries speaks to his talent level. It speaks to what the 49ers are missing out on now that he's suffered another shoulder injury, but they have to adapt without him. And when you talk about adapting without Jason Verrett, you look at the situation that the 49ers have in that defensive backfield, specifically at the cornerback position, and you look to where Verrett was trying to, aim for, and that was one of the nickelback or outside corner spots, one of those interchangeable spots alongside Charvarius Ward and Diamond Lenore. Ambry Thomas is now the odds-on favorite for that important spot because the 49ers changed things up earlier in the season. They're playing Lenore at the nickel, and they're moving Thomas into the game after Lenore kicks inside. So Thomas is now the outside cornerback to allow Lenore the kick inside. Isaiah Oliver is out of that mix, but Thomas is coming off the broken hand. So I think a lot lies on Ambry Thomas's ability to lock down his job. Otherwise, you've got to go to Womack or Luter, with Verrett no longer being an option since he just suffered the season-ending injury. So for that reason, I think that Womack and Luter, these are, huge opportunities for both of these guys. Both of these guys have to play well on Sunday to ingratiate themselves with the 49ers, with Steve Wilks, with that DB rotation, because you never know when you're going to get that call during the playoffs. And they're only one injury away from having to play during the postseason. So it's going to be really important to develop that position. Anyway, that's a look at the 49ers roster. Wanted to give you guys a nice little rundown of everything. Why don't we open this up to a 49ers Q&A? I see 451 comments. That's awesome. Let's get after it here on this Friday evening. With the Verrett injury, the 49ers going to sign a quarterback for depth, cornerback. Maybe Quantrez Knight, or the undrafted free agent from Texas that they had in training camp. That's Deshaun Jameson. I think he's still with the Panthers at this point. So you can't just sign guys that are on other teams' rosters. I'm not sure where Quantrez is right now. But, yeah, the 49ers are going to have a roster spot with Jason Verrett going to injured reserve. We can put Jason Verrett on injured reserve right now since his season is done. That's not a 53-man roster spot, but that will be a practice squad spot. So one spot open. Maybe the 49ers try to bring somebody in that is a familiar face, but Verrett is now on injured reserve. We can actually put his name there instead of Ray McLeod, since McLeod has been activated. Still waiting for the 49ers to make one more roster move, too, to officially activate Ray McLeod, because they need a spot for that on the 53-man. So we'll see what that is tomorrow for the 49ers. All right, more questions. I am open to them. So Verrett's injury bug actually started with his arms. Jason Verrett had a torn shoulder labrum when he was in the NFL Combine back in 2014. And one of the reasons why his draft stock soared was that he was able to pump out 19 bench press reps with a torn labrum. So that was the injury that got him his first year. He had 3 tears in his labrum and 1 tear in his rotator cuff. Then he had all the lower body injuries, and now it comes full circle again with the rotator cuff injury. Go for broke. Thank you. He says, I see the NFC title game as Cowboys-Niners. Why? In January 22, the 49ers beat Dallas in the wild card game. In January 23, the 49ers beat Dallas in the divisional round. It just fits. Yeah. So you step up every year, right? It escalates. It goes from wild card to divisional They played him in the regular season this year too to get that taken care of to the NFC title game. David Campbell says it's Dante Johnson time. What's Dante up to? The guy who signed who had something like 54 transactions with the 49ers between signings and releases and waves, and oh boy, that was exhausting. But Dante Johnson, good guy. I'm not sure if he's still training, ready to go, but maybe he's somebody that comes back along. Hell yeah, the breakfast sandwich looks fire. This is the Lombardi special from Jumpstart Coffee. Go ahead and check it out. The next question is Trent and wait, wrong one. There we go. Trent and Armstead are sitting on Sunday too. Yes, Trent and Armstead. Oh no, Trent is not. Trent Williams is playing on Sunday, probably just a little bit. Make sure he knocks off the rust. I talked about that earlier. Arik Armstead is not playing. He is still hurt. They're going to ramp him back up for the playoffs, or at least try to, with that plantar fasciitis. Spencer says that he hopes that Moody gets a ton of field goal reps. Hasn't had all that many attempts. He has set the rookie record with 58 extra points made without missing one. But yes, 49ers offense has been so good they actually haven't needed their kicker all too much. So maybe Moody will get some attempts in the field goal game to hit his rhythm entering the postseason. Drake Jackson is on injured reserve. No, the 49ers cannot play Tabor Pepper at tight end. Tabor Pepper is their long snapper. Will Sam Darnold have a big game? We shall see. I'm curious. It'll be fun to watch on Sunday. Fake punt time. I do not think that you use a fake punt in this game. I don't think that you want to use any trick plays in this game. I think you play everything close to the vest. Maybe you put some tendencies on film that you think other teams might take a bite at so you could set something else up for the postseason. But I don't think a fake punt is going to be in the 49ers repertoire this time around. It's been difficult to evaluate Jake Moody because the offense has been so good. That is true. Deebo Samuel's 130 yards short of 1,000 receiving yards. That's a lot of yards to get in one game. So unless he gets some kind of massive chunk play like an 80-yarder early and gets himself reasonably close, I don't think they would try to get him to 1,000 yards. That would seem a little reckless to me, especially with how physically Deebo Samuel plays. We didn't talk all too much about the receiver position because I was just talking about Ray McLeod and Jawan Jennings. But they have Ronnie Bell and they have Chris Conley as guys who can step into the Ayuk and the Jennings roles. I think there's a chance Jennings is back if he gets through the final part of concussion protocol. But say that Jennings sits in this game, I think you go Bell, Conley, and McLeod for much of it, so you can give Ayuk and Samuel a breather. What kind of role does Frank Gore have on the staff? Frank Gore is a special assistant or expert to the scouting department, I believe. So at this point, it's more of a role and title, I think, and I think he's going to work his way up if he likes this front office stuff in the 49ers scouting department. But that was the way for Frank Gore to start. I forgot what the exact title is for Frank Gore, but he will be sitting in on draft meetings and the such moving forward. Yeah, Deebo does need 4 rushing yards, I believe, to become the first receiver to hit 1,000 rushing yards, I believe, over the course of his first 4 or 5 years. Don't quote me on that. I'll take a look at it in a little bit. Maybe Mike has that. Maybe Mike can message me that. So there are some milestones involved. There's no money tied to that particular milestone for Deebo Samuel, but it would be cool if he could get it. What teams do I think the 49ers have to play in the postseason? I have no idea at this point. Why don't we just let the postseason picture clarify itself? I mean, they may have to go through the Rams again. That's a possibility. The Eagles are a possibility the Cowboys are, it's just too early to know. Too much can happen between now and then. Ray did have a full practice today, and Kyle Shanahan did say that he is going to be back and activated for the 49ers. All right. I hope that answered all your questions. We went through that roster in detail. It's been fun. I'll probably be back with some more content here in a little bit. It's going to be a fun weekend. Actually heading up to Calistoga before the game. This is tomorrow on Saturday, and then the game on Sunday. So we'll see you all around. Content will keep pouring in because the 49ers have some roster moves to make moving forward, at least one to officially activate Ray McLeod. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted as soon as stuff happens. Talk in a bit.